Good morning. It is Friday, February the 10th. But as you can see, got the planter out, doing some more upgrades to it. It's getting row clutches. That's what this whole box right here is. Right there is our clutch. Get it out of the back here. Yeah, right there. The only thing we have to do is they sent us some sprockets. Got both them up, but that's our row clutches. I've been wanting row clutches for a very long time, and this year finally looked like we're able to get them. We was able to get them, doing some more stuff to it. Gonna use our Trimble 750 to run our Rawson hydraulic drive there, so we'll be able to load variable rate prescriptions up into our screen, and the screen will automatically tell the motor what population to plant. He is able to do that before, but he just had to do it manually. And it's also supposed to run our row clutches. We're supposed to have row by row shutoff, so I'm super excited about that. Like I said, I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I think it'll save us a bunch of money in the long run. That's what everybody says anyways. But before we get started, I want to say thank you to Cody and Richard and Daniel over there at Tennessee Tractor. We asked about some calendars back in January. They didn't have any, but they got some calendars. And also, we're having to replace these bearer hanger sprockets with, let's see if I can, with one like that one right there that ain't got the sprocket on it. It's our row clutch. It's gonna sit right there. It's gonna sit on that shaft, but you still need the bearer hangers. What most people do is they just take this bearing hanger off and just flip it around, bolt it up on this side. But we didn't want that sprocket out there flopping around, so we got the bearing hangers without the sprockets. Trenton didn't have any at their location, but Alamo did have them. I was fixing to go after them, but it just so happened that Richard, one of the parts mans, was over there at Alamo already, and he picked them up and brought them to Trenton. That was nice of him, so it saved me a trip from going to Alamo, but that was super nice of them to do that for us. Saved us a gas and time and trip, and I was already over there at Trenton getting our filters. But so that's why we do business with Tennessee Tractor. I'm sure there are other tractor brands out there, but John Deere and Tennessee Tractor, they've always had good dealership support, and they've always treated us good. So that's why we keep running John Deere, because you got good dealer support and good guys like Cody and Richard and Daniel that keep you running. It's just me for this morning, but what we're gonna do, pull these chains off, pull these sprockets off, and put our new bearing hangers on. They'll bolt on this side, but we'll bring y'all along, show y'all that. So we got our row unit chain off. Now the next thing to do is take this sprocket off. Now what most people do is they just flip it around and let it sit like that. But then you got this sprocket sitting there, just freewheeling out there, liable to catch something and all. But they are still in really good shape. But basically what we got from John Deere is basically just this, minus the sprocket here, and I'll show you. Right there's the part number for anybody who wants to do this. See what I'm saying? New shiny, just same thing, same concept, just missing the sprocket. And you bolted here. Before you would bolt it to the inside, now we're bolting it to the outside because your clutch is going to sit right there. There it is. 7 more to go. Probably a good thing we're changing them. I don't think it's supposed to have that much wiggle in it. But this is the unit that swings out and catches over here, so catches on that dog down there. So it probably does get a lot more force than the other ones. But
Robert's excited about our planter project. This is one thing he's actually wanting to film. Normally he's fussing, but we're pulling the shaft out of our units here. That's a good thing we rebuilt this planter with all new shafts and sprockets when we built it. So we had to drill that set screw out. Trying to see if I could tell. It'd be right in there somewhere. I don't know, but it's out now, so that's where we're gonna call it quits for tonight. We'll bring you back in the morning. It is a beautiful, beautiful Monday morning. Like 60, gonna be 60 degrees today. Just a shirt weather, no coat. Making us feel the itch to plant a little corn. We got the corn planter out here, we're going over it. We're gonna be adding a few components to it. The first thing is Trimble roll clutches. What roll clutches do, here's one of them. It's hard to see, but it disengages this chain that turns the seed meters. And it does that by using GPS equipment up in the tractor. And when you get into an area that is already been planted, it will shut the rows off in the area that's already been planted. So say you're finishing up a field and you only need to plant 4 rows, and you've got 4 rows hanging off, and what's already been planted, it will shut them 4 rows off automatically, and you're saving on seed. So that's the reason we're putting these on there. Another thing we're doing is I've been running this hydraulic drive for years. What a hydraulic drive does, instead of these wheels used to pull this transmission that pulls this shaft that pulls the seed meters. Well, it does away with that, and it replaces it with this hydraulic motor. And the advantage of that is, instead of having to get out here and changing these gears in this transmission to change your seeding rate, I can just turn a little knob up there in the cab. But we're going to take that one step further this year. My GPS screen is going to be controlling all of that now. We're going to do what's called variable rate, where I write what's called a prescription. A prescription, just like the doctor would give you, medicine. Well, I'll write a prescription that tells the GPS what plant population or seeds per acre that I want to plant in that certain area of the field. Say we've got an area of the field that has plenty of moisture, high fertility. We want to plant more plants per acre, so we'll have more ears out there to produce grain. Well, say I've got a farm that runs up on a hill that will dry out faster, doesn't have the fertility because maybe it eroded years ago, and the topsoil's down at the bottom of the hill. Well, when we climb up on them hills, we can dial that population back, or your seeds per acre back, and that lets the plants have more room. They're not having to compete against each other for moisture and nutrients. Thus, they should produce better. Instead of not even making an ear of corn, at least maybe they'll make an ear of corn or make a bigger ear of corn, and you can actually, in some instances, raise your yields by dialing back populations. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be hopefully using variable rate seeding rates this year. Robert thinks the row shutoffs will pay for itself quicker. I think the variable rate will pay for itself quicker. So both of us is getting stuff on our wish list. We're gonna let Robert talk to you about the roll clutch. Gonna let him show how we put it together and anything else he wants to tell y'all about it. All right, so what we're doing is we're unpackaging our roll clutch here. This is your roll clutch here. You can attach different things to this roll clutch. These will work on with either a chain drive unit or a cable drive unit. So you have different ways to attach it here. So we got the sprockets. Yep, right there. The electric clutch sprocket kit right here consists of your sprocket. Take your sprocket, just set it up there, and then you got 3 bolts. Line it all up. 3 8mm bolts. That's all it takes to attach your sprocket to your clutch. And that's what the completed clutch looks like. Your shaft runs through there, and your roll unit chain catches on here, and when it disengages, this will stop, but your shaft, your internal shaft, will keep spinning. So that's how the clutch works. Also in the sprocket kit includes 2 spacers, a locking collar, which the way we're going to mount it up we do not need. Alright, so what we're fixing to do now, we're fixing to pull this airbag bracket. And we're having to do that because we've run into some clearance issues. When you install your clutch right here, it is bumping this bracket. You don't have to take much out of it, but you do have to take a little bit out of it. We're gonna have to do a few modifications right here, but we think we got it figured out. We've been kind of working on this for about 2 days on and off, trying to figure out how we're gonna do it. Robert's got to pull the bolt out of the bottom of the airbag. He's gonna pull these 3 bolts, and we're gonna pull this bracket out. Anybody that followed our channel for a long time knows that we call this planter the Johnny Cash planter. It's about 3 different planters that's been put into one to be the exact planter that we want. Instead of trading, we just keep modifying it, keep rebuilding it, and rocking on. These are pneumatic downforce airbags. They come off like I believe it was either a 1770 or 1790 planter, and we had to buy this bracket here and this plate to be able to mount these airbags. And so we're having some interference issues here with our clutch. We turned this bracket around seeing if it would work, but it won't. But it's coming down here and bumping this bracket right here when you pick it up. And we don't know if it's because we've got 1770 brackets on a 7000 planter. This is started out life as a John Deere 7000 planter. We don't know if it's because of that or what, but I mean, all we gotta do is take a little bit out of that bracket. It's not going to be enough to structurally mess those brackets up. Got 12 of these brackets, so we sacrificed this one just you know, to know what we're doing. And y'all see how much meat I took out of that one. We did not have to take anywhere near that much meat out of it. So what we're going to do, I know that our notch has got to stop there and stop here. So we're going to take a paint pen and mark that, and then I'm going to take my plasma cutter and I'm going to trim just a small slither out of this, and then take the grinder, clean it up, go back, reinstall it on our planter and see if it fixes the issue. It's about lunchtime, but I would like to get this one side done before we go eat lunch. A lot better than the last job I did, don't y'all think? Let's see if I whittled enough out of it to make it work. So this unit right here This is a wing fold planter, and it's the only unit out on the wing, and it folds around. So it's got this little stub shaft here, and what you got to do is you've got to have a bearing on either side as compared to only one bearing on like this planter. And it's got this dog that catches that one, and that's what turns it. And but with the planter down on the ground and it's folded around, it's like, I mean, this will simulate what having the planter picked up would be like on those units. So this is an easy one to make sure we trimmed enough out of the bracket and everything when putting our clutch on. Robert's gonna snug him bolts up, and we're gonna show some other modifications we're having to make. So we have finally figured out this whole situation. We messed around 2 hours yesterday trying to use those low profile head bolts. Even these bolts here with the low profile head just were not working, because it's hard to see in the camera, but they bulge out here in the center, so you never could suck them up completely unless you countersunk this hole that it went through. And there's just no way to get in there and drill that out without taking the unit off, and we did not want to do that. We was just trying to use this bolt to keep from tapping all these holes. And when I say tap, that's this thing right here. You run it in there and it makes threads. But that's what we ended up doing. I thought it was gonna be a big deal tapping them holes, and it turned out that was one of the easiest things we did. Sometimes we cost our me and Robert's talked about, sometimes the things we dread are the easiest things we do. I can't figure that out, and some little old easy project takes all days. That's just the way things go around here. But we tapped out this bottom hole. We used a 7/16 by 1 inch with a flat washer and a lock washer, and about that much sticks out on the other side. So that gives us that helps us deal with our clearance issues on this clutch. This is a 3/8 by, like, I don't know, 3, just rough guess. We got some bushings. They're actually collars for a shaft. You can see it shining in there. You gotta grind down one side flat, but you gotta have that bushing in a washer, and that allows you to clear. There's just a tiny gap between that angle iron bracket and the clutch there. You can look down there at the chain alignment. That's just about as good as you're gonna do with these clutches. I haven't seen any clutches yet to get us it exactly perfect. Ag Leader has some clutches where you actually break your chain in two and you bolt their clutch up right here. Those chains really run out of line, and I don't like that at all. There was lots of scratching our heads before I figured how I wanted to do it. And that's the way I got them mounted. Is not per se the way Trimble mounts them, but that's the way Dylan's gonna mount them, because they did not run a bolt through this. They was counting on a bolt you screw in there, and it catches that plate to hold it tight. Grab one of them clutches and screw that bolt in there and show them. But I did not like that at all, and this bolt perfectly aligns with that. So we got that bushing in here, and with that bushing in here, that allows us to tighten it up and help hold that bearing. And then we got this tap down here at the bottom that helps with the clearance issues. Robert's going to show you that, and then I'm going to show you what we had to do to the brackets. They did that right there and was counting on that to catch your planter bar to keep it from turning, which is still going to do a little rocking like it. The way we got it, it ain't going to do, it shouldn't go anywhere. If it does, we got major issues. So what I got to do, I got to tap this hole right here. Pretty much all it is to it. Run it through there and make some threads. So for our bushings here, this goes on the shaft, and I had to grind it down about half the size it was. This is the collar that's going to go on this 3/8 bolt, and where I ground that flat spot, it sits against the clutch. And then I had to have just a wee bit more space, and I ground that washer, and that washer sits like that right there. So that's how much that bolt sticks out on the back side. That's as good as I can do for you on the lighting, guys. I know it's flickering. I can't, them LED lights, they just play heck on these cameras. Alright, so Robert's gonna start sliding the shaft in part of the way. And I'm gonna slip this little poly spacer on. Drop my clutch down in there, and then Robert can go on and push the shaft all the way through to the other side. It lines up with the other burn. Now we gotta get our 3/8 bolt and put them spacers in there. Get our clutch spun around here. I got it on. Other than this one little. Sometimes it can be a booger to get it all turned right. See it all slide into place, guys. I gotta try to get this washer on. Nut. We had to pull these the brackets off anyways to notch them out, so it's a whole lot easier just go and clutch that clutch in there while that bracket is out, so that you got more room to work in there. So now we're gonna go get our bracket and install it and put our chain back on, and this row here will be done. We'll have to wait till we fold it around to set where this shaft needs to be. Got these collars here. We'll pull it out because you're gonna have to have that collar on this side. That clutch ought to stay. Yeah, see there? That's one good thing about bolting it up like we did. Just remember that if we'll put our bolt in this side, it will be correct, because we had to move this bearing here. Used to be on the inside, and let me get a sprocket and show you how it used to be. This is what it used to be. There's just a bearing, your shaft runs through, and here's your sprocket. Let's compare. Used to sit in there like that. But now you got this clutch in there, and the GPS tells it when to plant and when not. So that's to help prevent overlap. So what we're doing now, we're installing the pneumatic downforce, the airbags to the parallel arms, and then the airbag, there's a bolt in the bottom of it, and it bolts to the airbag bracket. There you go. Now, no matter where you put the light, it's always in the way. We got plenty of clearance in there. That's what I was talking about before. When you raised the planter up, that clutch was bumping that arm. That's all I'm going to show you. The rest of that, we got 3 rows left. We got a lot more to do to this planter, so I ain't going to stick on one subject just a long time. And this may be a 2 and 3 part series. This may be just part 1. We're wanting to get up to the farm show, but we're wanting to have this part of the planter done before we leave. We got to go co-op, pick up some feed. So I'm not going to video anymore today. We're going to get these last 3 rows finished up and rock on out of here to Louisville.